Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. Welcome to my garden. It's a June garden. Everything looks at its best right now, and I just thought I'd share. You'll hear the sounds, possibly, of a fountain that are hidden behind those irises and underneath that cherry tree. And then it goes to the back of holly bushes. And close your eyes, I'm going to spin you. And all this patio is what we had done last summer in order to, for a number of reasons, drainage being the most significant one. So, it's too bad you can't smell things, because behind me are a yellow, let me see if I can lift it up. They're a yellow daylily. They're the Stelladoras. They are so gorgeous in their scent. They are divine. And this is a very brief moment of scent in the garden. And and then we've got this amazing wall of hydrangea. So yeah, that's about close to 30 years worth of work, one way or another. Okay, well, you're here about books, not my garden. Two more books from the Newbery Award list, 2024 or 2011. And the first one that I really enjoyed this week is The Heart of a Samurai by Margie Preus, Preus. And it was an honor award. It was an honor read. I guess that's what you say if you don't win first, you become an honoree. This is an adventure of the high seas. It said so right there. And we have got Mirjo, I think that's how you say his name, and then in the English pronunciation they call him Mung, and eventually he becomes known as John Mung. This story is told based on true life events about a gentleman called John Mung, and he as a child was swept away to sea in a boat with 4 other fishermen, and they ended up being rescued from an island that albatrosses used for nesting purposes, breeding purposes, by an English whaling ship. And it turned out that the captain of that ship was actually a decent human being. You hear a lot about how whaling ships, the captains are pretty... So anyways, this guy turned out to be pretty decent. And they rescued these 5 Japanese individuals, ranging in age from about 14 to 50, who were all fishermen, and pretty much starving, pretty much just eking out the barest of existence and having to share whatever there was amongst 5 of them. So once they are on the whaling ship, they become educated, as it were, to the whaling practices that the English use. And in this case, it was an American ship. And the Japanese have a tradition of whaling that is definitely more, what would I say, it honors the animal more. Everything is used right down to the bones, and whatever the internal organs are and so forth. Whereas the English and British, they are just slaughter the animal for the parts that will make the oil or the spermatocia that's up around the spout. So there's a whole bunch of it's a bunch of little starlings deciding that they're going to have a morning tete-a-tete. Okay, so John Mung, as he becomes known, really gets into it. He really wants to learn how to speak English. He's interested in all the cultural differences. He's interested in becoming educated as much as he can in his homeland. He would be completely uneducated. And I guess I should mention that this is taking place in about 1850. This is a time when Japan has its borders closed to anyone. Any kind of foreigner that lands on their shores is eventually executed. And any Japanese individual that has left, if they return, they too will really not do well. So something, as John is having his experiences on the high seas, going to Honolulu and to Boston and a few other ports of call, he's gone for upwards of 10 years. Gets an English education, learns about navigation, and things are happening back in Japan. And a couple of the lords close to the shogun have somehow or other come upon the knowledge that the the Western world has not only weapons but navigational skills and things that they would like to trade for. So the border is softening. So that's happening in the background. And John's dream is to get back to Japan, and he just has some tremendous adventures along the way. We're also learning a little bit about the Bushido thinking that is the principles behind being a samurai. Mostly you become a samurai through inheritance. It's very like a fisherman's boy. No way, that's not going to happen. But it's a dream that he has. So he works his way home through. There's a lot of hardship before he finally gets to home. But it's a good adventure. And if you like sea stories and sailing stories, this is definitely one for you. The main character is well drawn and certainly has quite a lot of challenges that they have to overcome, both physically at sea and also sort of coming to grips with the fact that they're forever going to be a foreigner in whatever country they're in, including their homeland of Japan, because he's been tainted with Western thinking and Western experiences. So there's quite a lot of emotional landscape going on there too, but it's kept in the eyes of a young person. Eventually, around 2021, John Mung he saved a lot of money, and he picks up his 4 remaining Japanese friends in Honolulu, and they make their way to Japan, where things don't go as hoped. Pretty much as the other guys predicted, but not as John Mung had hoped. And he eventually, because it's all part of the information on the back, eventually becomes an advisor to the shogun and the court in terms of Western practices and politics and so on. So it's really a good book. It's excellent on its own merits compared to the other books that I reviewed last week. It's a different kind of an adventure. It's not quite so wackadoodle in a way. The assassinations of Samir the Dream Seller they're really eccentric and quite amusing, and these are much more well, they're based in reality. So I recommend this. I'm not sure I would give it a 5, just because I'm more excited about a rollicking adventure. This book, the next book that I was talking about, is also a Newbery Award honoree, Elf Dog and Owl Head. Now, who wrote it? M.T. Anderson, who's an excellent author apparently in other genres, has written for adults. It's illustrated by Junyi Wu, and I'm just looking to see. No, it doesn't tell me right up easy. The Astonishing Life of Octavia Nothing, Traitor to the Nation, The Pox Party, Volume 2, The Kingdom on the Waves. I've read the first 2 books that I mentioned, and they were really very good. So she is a very, very strong author. And the illustration is quite charming. And what the author has done, the illustrator has done, is created these very atmospheric illustrations. And we are following Elf Dog. And we are also following this young boy who finds Elf Dog in the woods, and Owl Head. And what happens is Elf Dog, her name is Elfina, she has the ability to travel through folds of time, and so she can lead. I'm just finished this last night. Clay. She can lead Clay to these different worlds through these time folds because that she's a dog from the people of the underworld. So effectively, the elves, although they're drawn a little bit differently than just the partying nonstop. They've got a bit more of a deeper culture. So he's able to see Owl Boy, who is a creature that is partially human but has owl heads, and they're rather puritanical in their thinking ways, very serious. Um, they don't want any kind of outsiders visiting. They have got a very strict kind of um, don't come here policy, and so when Owl Boy brings Clay, because the dog has been injured, to that community, everybody gets into a lot of trouble. So back home, the family of Clay recognizes that the dog is peculiar, and they have a couple of experiences that makes them, they're not dismissing the fact that Elf Dog has got some peculiar abilities, and things just happen a little bit weirdly when she's around. So it's a great setup in terms of the different worlds and in terms of the acceptance of different worlds and crossovers. The boys are having a pretty solid adventure in both worlds, but Owl Boy is really restricted by his culture, and that leaves Clay to have to do mishaps and mischief with his younger and older sister, which he's not thrilled about. They each have a different relationship with Elfrina the dog, and he's a bit jealous of that. This is all taking place during COVID. It's called the disease of the world, but it's COVID. And of course, everybody's restricted and has got like really tight bubbles in terms of who they can coordinate visits with and so on. So there's quite a lot of world development, but it's quick and it's thorough, and you really get to know Clay and the dog, and I think they have got some really fun adventures. Of course, they've got to have some kind of encounter with the elf people, the people from underneath, again, because, Elfrina has escaped. She didn't mean to, but that's ultimately what's happened. And she has to make some kind of a choice. Which world does she want to stay in? So both excellent books. I would give this a 4.5. Why? I think maybe it was just a little bit too tight. I think I would have liked just a little bit more of the adventures. I think there was some of the descriptions of the adventures that were, a little bit too tight. I think, there could have been a bit more emotional experience happening. I mean, when they were afraid, I knew they were afraid because I'd been told, but I wasn't shown as much as I had been in the other books. So there was a bit more tell than show. So, but still, excellent book. So this is a little bit shorter, partly because I've only read 2 books, but also because I'm doing something fun this week. I'm going to Writers Camp for Adults. It's downtown at the Writers Federation, and I'm distracted because I'm trying to avoid ants, and they just love me. And some of these ants are real mean. You get bit by one of these ants, and it just lasts for days and days. Anyhow, I'm headed off early to go to Writers Camp. First day was really fun. I was being instructed by Stephanie Domet for 2 hours, and then we went off on adventures and wrote where we were, sort of in situ, and it was great fun. I don't know what's happening today. It's a different author who will be leading the gang, 13 of us, and see what happens. It should be a good fun week. I hope all your reading adventures and dreams continue to come true, and I will see you next week, probably with the last end of the Newberries. I've got 2 more to go, and I'm not sure what else. We'll see. Take care for now. Bye-bye.